So I wanted to start with some warm-ups, and here's our Vine charcoal, and what I'm working on is newsprint. And the very foundation of responsive drawing is good mark making. So what I mean by that is when we make a line, we want to get some variation out of the line. And I wanted to relate this idea to a plane landing on a runway. The plane descends from the air and you want it to land really softly. And in a similar way, in order to have a successful takeoff, you want the plane to take off softly. And it's kind of the same using charcoal. Think of it as this plane landing. We softly touch down and lift off. So really, variation that we get in the line is coming from our whole body. It's coming from the gravity that we use to touch the page. A lot of times what I see right off the bat is people want to draw something in the center. I'm making some marks that lead right off the edge. I want to encourage you, when you're drawing anything, fill up the page. The center is important, the outer areas are all important. One of the materials you got in the kit or at the store is a chamois cloth, and yours is probably yellowish or tan color. This is used for smudging. This is also used for light erasure. Let's say you're worried about wasting a piece of paper. With a soft touch, you can rub around and you're kind of left with a ghosty remnant of the lines. So for this first exercise, I just want you to actually dedicate a whole page to doing some really good marks with nice variation. Think about a soft landing and then a soft takeoff again. Another way to say this, sometimes we refer to this kind of mark making as a bamboo leaf. It's very thin at the end, it gets thicker and it becomes thin again. This is something that's going to stay with you throughout your drawing practice. It's kind of always useful to have a good sensitive mark. And your state of mind is sort of very important when you're drawing. This is a good warm-up exercise anytime that you're sort of getting ready to spend some time doing a serious drawing. It gets your physical and mental sensitivity aligned. It's helpful to think about the whole rectangle as a sort of sacred space and try to create some energy within it. Still with our Vine charcoal, we can flip that page over once you're done. And we're going to do a similar thing, only with curved lines. So why don't you try circular lines, but with the same sensitivity. Sort of a plane landing softly and taking off again softly. So after doing a couple of sets of these exercises, you should be feeling pretty sensitive with your mark making and the connection between your hand and your mind. And if it's not quite clicking again, go ahead and do another page, and I promise it'll start to feel better. You'll start to hone into that wavelength of sensitive mark making. So one more exercise. I like to call this one Chase the Mouse. In a way, we let speed be one of our teachers. And this practice, Chase the Mouse, is one to help us speed up and loosen up, and at the same time create some responsive lines. So try to think of the same thing that we just went through. We got sensitive lines in the first exercise. In the second exercise, we got curved sensitive lines. And in this new exercise, it's kind of helpful to do some visualization. If you'll humor me, imagine that there's a little mouse on the piece of paper, and you place the charcoal down at the mouse's tail, and it starts to run around, and you have to follow the mouse around. So something like this. It's kind of silly in a way, but let's look at a couple of things here. One, what's similar to before, we have some really responsive lines. We have variation. We're taking up the whole frame of the rectangle. And actually, we got some really beautiful lines and curves. And that's very much to the point. Let me point out a few. This swooping motion that gets thicker here, and then super thin, almost hair thin. There's some real beauty in this mark that we just made. And another thing we could say about it is that it looks like it flows out of the body kind of very naturally, or it was released in a burst of energy. When we go to draw something, a subject that's in front of us using observation, we want this sort of quality of sensitive, energized mark making. So this one, I think it's helpful to do a couple of pages, and then you'll be in the right state of mind to do gesture drawing.